What happened to the Fantanas? If you're of a certain age and grew up watching cable TV, then odds are you're familiar with this catchy jingle. Created for the now iconic Fanta campaign, the singing and dancing Fantanas were an iconic part of 2000s pop culture. But did you know that the Fantanas are still around, albeit in a much less interesting form? In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the legendary Fantanas. We'll be discussing the motivations behind the initial ad campaign, how the Fantanas epitomized fashion and pop culture trends of the time period, as well as their eventual decline and downfall. Let's get into it. Fanta was first created in 1940 out of necessity because the trade embargo of Nazi Germany made the import of Coca-Cola syrup impossible. In order to keep their operations running, head of Coca-Cola's German operations, Max Keith, developed a fruit-flavored drink that was made out of ingredients that were still available in Germany at the time, with Keith even referring to the beverage as being made from, quote, the leftovers of the leftovers. Taking its name from the German word for imagination, fantasy, the Fanta of the 1940s was reminiscent of ginger ale, and became massively popular in the latter half of World War II, not only being consumed as a beverage, but also being used as a cooking ingredient as sugar was severely rationed. Fanta production was discontinued by Coca-Cola following the war, but would be relaunched in 1955, being heavily marketed in Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America. It was around this time that the drink started being produced in Naples, Italy, where local oranges helped inspire the iconic look and flavor that people are familiar with today. Although it proved to be popular in international markets, the company refrained from releasing Fanta in the United States out of fear that it would threaten Coke's position as the company's most popular soda. When it was finally released in the US in 1960, it was a certifiable success, becoming one of the leading orange sodas in the country, and up until the late 1980s, it was a fixture in American homes. With the 1990s ushering in a wave of healthy eating, soda and snack companies took a hit, including Fanta, and by 2001, Fanta's popularity in the US had severely declined. In the hopes of revitalizing interest in the brand, Coca-Cola turned to ad agency Ogilvy, who came up with a campaign that would help bring Fanta into the 21st century. Released in 2002, this campaign introduced a quartet of young women known as the Fantanas, who represented Fanta's four most popular flavors: strawberry, grape, pineapple, and of course, orange. There was also a blue Fantana in this original lineup to go along with Fanta's new berry flavor, but she failed to make it into early commercials, likely because reception to the drink was rather lackluster to begin with, and by 2004 it was discontinued. The Fantanas were immediately successful with their target audience of teens and young adults, but for very different reasons depending on gender. Young girls were drawn to them as they danced and dressed in a style that was similar to pop stars of the time like Britney Spears, Destiny's Child, and the Spice Girls. Britney had also recently become a spokesperson for Coca-Cola's direct competitor, Pepsi, and you could see the creation of the Fantanas as being a response to this. Not to mention that by giving each flavor a unique name and personality, they also drew parallels to fashion doll lines like the Bratz. And I'll be honest, I'm genuinely surprised that they didn't try to create a limited edition collab with Mattel or something. On the other hand, boys were quick to view the Fantanas as sex symbols, with one of the original members saying in an interview that she once asked a 9-year-old boy if he was going to hang his Fantanas poster on his bedroom wall, to which he responded, quote, "Hell no, I'm gonna put it on my ceiling." The brand seemed to lean into the sexual messaging by having the Fantanas flirt with boys in the commercials, and there was also the double entendre of the song's hook. I also think it's important to mention that the members of the group also appeared in a Maxim spread in December 2002. Despite the drink being created in Germany during World War II, the original lineup of Fantanas were given a tropical look with Latin influences, something owed to the fact that Fanta's biggest markets were Brazil and Mexico. Even the group's fictitious backstory was inspired by Latin America, with the girls first being discovered on Fantana Island, which was supposed to be somewhere in the Caribbean. According to John Seischer, former editor of Beverage Digest, quote, "This new advertising for Fanta really reflects Coke's attempt to position this brand as a product for teens and young adults with a slightly urban, ethnic skew. That's exactly where a mainline carbonated soft drink needs to be positioned to tap into potential growth." The 2000s was a bizarre time when it came to advertising, with companies relying on eye-catching and wacky commercials in order to appeal to kids and teenagers, something which wound up trickling down into the products themselves. Let's not forget that this was the era of purple ketchup. Tons of brands had long used mascots in their advertising, including the silly rabbit for Trix, the the Spokes candies for M&M, and the Geico Gecko. But the difference between those mascots and the Fantanas is that the girl group was made up of real people, which immediately set them apart from the rest. The commercials themselves had a very simple premise, with the Fantanas materializing whenever someone wasn't having a good time, like pushing a stalled car or mowing their lawn. And with their dancing and high energy, they helped Fanta become a party beverage. In 2004, the Fantanas returned with a new look, sporting a 1960s mod aesthetic instead of the 2000 Island style of the previous generation. The 1960s served as a major form of inspiration during the 2000s, as evidenced by the styling in Gossip Girl, and the Fantanas sported bouffant hairstyles, mini skirts, and hip hugger belts. Besides changing up the style of the group, the cast itself was also swapped out, with the characters being given new names to signify to audiences that they weren't the same Fantanas as before. A fun fact about this generation of Fantanas is that Capri, the red Fanta girl, was played by future Vampire Diaries star Kat Graham. Along with the reduction of the tropical influences in their appearance, the commercials were also less blatantly beachy, with their settings being more glamorous and trendy to help the brand appear more high-end. Even though they were only used in Fanta's advertising for 2 years, I'd consider these mod Fantanas the best remembered iteration of the group. And the change was a smart move on the company's part as it kept the Fantanas relevant despite the ever-changing trends in media and fashion. The next iteration of the Fantanas were released in 2006 and marked the return of the tropical vibes of the first generation combined with a mid-2000s party style. This would be the first and only lineup to feature a Fantana from the previous generation, with Sophia, the grape Fanta, making a return. Although the premise of the commercials remained the same, the quality seemed to have gone down, which I saw as an early indication of the brand beginning to lose interest in this marketing tactic, as well as a shift in advertising trends overall. They also changed the jingle, emphasizing their new Fanta Fiva slogan instead of the iconic "Don't You Wanna" catchphrase.
Pardon me? Come on, get the fever. 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 Fever.
In 2009, the Fantanas were rebranded once again, with each of the girls having a unique sense of style that reflected her personality as opposed to an overarching aesthetic. Orange was given a boho hippie-inspired look, Strawberry a vaguely glamorous look, Grape was given a punkish sort of vibe, while Pineapple was made more cutesy in order to round out the group. This iteration of the Fantanas were also given a new backstory. Quote, "There were once 4 mythical females from a faraway island who captivated the world and fundamentally changed the face of fun. But in 2006, the fun took a vacation. Feeling their futures lay elsewhere, the Fantanas broke up. Now, after a 3-year hiatus, when the world needs excitement and refreshment more than ever, Summer, Isabella, and Melody, the new Fantanas, have arrived as the new ambassadors of fun. With a bold attitude, an even catchier jingle, and innovative dance moves, the Fantanas are spreading flavor and refreshment across the country, and asking fans to join them in their nationwide search for the 4th Fantana." Let's focus on that last bit. Shakira Barrera was the original choice for Pineapple Fanta, but she departed the group in order to focus on her acting career. This was written into the Fantana storyline, and in order to generate some online buzz, Fanta held a nationwide casting call looking for a new spokesmodel to take her place. This was an interactive process for fans, who could vote on their favorites, and in fall of 2010 there was officially a new Fanta girl. I don't remember the ads from this era at all, so it doesn't surprise me that this was the last iteration of Fantanas for several years.
How do you move on? How do you go forward?
In 2017, the Fantanas were reintroduced for their 5th and final time, so far at least. Unlike past iterations which featured spokesmodels playing a fictional character, this generation of Fantanas were made up of celebrities and social media influencers who were just being themselves. This was a clear reflection of the times, with the ads' blatant use of recognizable faces being the primary marketing tactic, as opposed to an interesting and unique concept. The commercial's whole shtick was also very of its time, using the slogan, "Be more than one flavor," which was very reminiscent of other be-yourself marketing of the late 2010s. This was also the first time there was a male Fantana, with actor Jordan Fisher becoming Strawberry Fanta. Overall, this rebranding felt ill-conceived. Not only was it an incredibly watered-down version of the original commercials, but it wasn't right for the time period. 2000s nostalgia had yet to take the world by storm, and referencing an ad campaign from that time period didn't make sense. Not to mention that the new Fantanas lacked the wow power of past generations, and in the commercials they often fade into the background, something that is more the director's fault than the spokesperson's. I also find the outfits to be boring at best. While some of the past Fantanas had better outfits than others, at least there was an attempt to create a distinctive look for the characters. These new Fantanas just wore plain crop tops and whatever pants they could find. The fact that they're not even decked out in their individual colors from head to toe is even more ridiculous when you consider the fact that monochrome dressing was actually on trend. The late 2010s wasn't exactly the most innovative time for fashion, but that doesn't mean they had to look like a Forever 21 ad. Besides making appearances as a group Halloween costume, the Fantana's current cultural relevance is near non-existent, and I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of Gen Z have no idea who they even were to begin with. Considering the rise of 2000s aesthetics and the chokehold nostalgia currently has in pop culture, I'm surprised that Coca-Cola hasn't attempted to bring the Fantanas back one more time. I think something loosely inspired by a K-pop group like Blackpink or Red Velvet would work really well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!